Good morning, class. I hope and I guess you all can hear me. If anybody has any trouble regarding the network issue, please do drop a message in the chat box and let me know. I hope you all are safe, and it's been almost 6 months that we had any class. So I hope you all have adjusted to this new way of taking classes and that hopefully you can manage this way. Now let us directly start with the class. So for your third semester, compulsory paper you will have to study, that is International Business Environment, and the code for the subject is MBAH 503. It's a hardcore paper and is compulsory for all of you. Now, speaking about international business environment, earlier in your first year, you had Indian business environment. Now, the basic for both the subject will do remain the same. But the major difference in international business environment is than theory, you will study how different aspects of business all over the world is being conducted. Hello? Yes? Yes? Who is speaking? It would be better if you drop a message in the chat box because whosoever spoke was not clear. Okay, since I am unable to hear you, I shall continue. Now, speaking about your international business environment, you'll be having 8 different chapters, wherein in the first chapter, you will be studying all about the basics of business environment, and you'll also try to understand why is it necessary that we'll have to know the environment in which our business would set up. You'll also try to learn what are the different ways in which you can set up your organization on a large scale or in different countries, or in simple words, how can you make your market for your organization in a world scenario. Now the second chapter, here we would be speaking about the environment in terms of domestic environment, your environment of the country, and also the global environments, and what are the impact of the decision that would be taken internationally which would be affecting your business. Now the third chapter is all about what are the different kinds of tariffs and non-tariff barriers. Okay, now tariffs and non-tariffs in simple words is a kind of tax that you are going to pay for doing business in some other country. Now the fourth chapter, here we would be discussing all about FDI and FII. Now FDI is nothing but foreign direct investment, and FII is nothing but foreign institutional investments. And the fifth chapter, here we are going to discuss about different international institutions or agreements that have been set up, especially those institutions which would help in doing business. Might be World Trade Organization, might be World Bank, or any other. Along with that, we'll also be studying about BRICS and BRICS banks and some other institutions, with some of them which are present for Asian countries and some which are present for the entire world. And the sixth chapter concentrates on regional economic groupings. Might be NAFTA, might be SAPTA. Now, all these are abbreviations. You'll have to know each one of them. Each one of these are somewhat like your World Trade Organization. Each one has been set up with some of the objectives, and each one has its own way of working. Now, the seventh chapter is all about multinational companies. Because when we as an organization try to set up our business in different organization, we would be, and when we are more than in 2 or 3 countries and we are doing business in different countries, we would be called as multinational organization or multinational corporation. Now, studying this becomes important in terms of us understanding how a MNC is different from other kind of business organization, and also what are the different dynamic nature of a MNC corporation. And in the last chapter we would be discussing all about the emerging trends. Might be with the given situation nowadays, the world trade also has different challenges to face and different kinds of risks to overcome. So, regarding all these things, we would be studying in chapter 8. I hope you are clear with what you would be studying under International Business Organization. Now, speaking about your might be assignments or presentations, regarding all those things we shall discuss in the coming days, or we can also discuss in your WhatsApp group so that it will not lead you into any kind of confusion. So, I guess we are clear up until this point. If anyone has anything to ask, or if anyone is having any trouble, please let me know. So now these are some of the books which has been mentioned in your syllabus, uh, for which you can go through, or which helps you in understanding more regarding what has been mentioned in your syllabus. You can directly download the PDF from your Mangalore University website, or I have already posted it in your group, and again I will be posting it in your Google Classroom. So I hope we can continue with chapter 1. Now, yes, uh, yes. Can I know who is speaking?
ನಾವು ಒದ್ದಾಡ್ಕೊ ಬಂದೆ.
Yes, whomsoever it is, I guess you have not known that you have unmuted yourself. Please mute yourself. Yes. Now, continuing with the chapter 1, it's all about your introduction for the business environment. So, anyone would like to tell me what do you mean by business environment, or why is it important that we understand business environment? Anyone who wish to answer can drop a message in the chat box. Okay. Yes, Pradeep, if you are listening to this, please mute yourself or either answer to the question. Now, speaking about business environment, understanding the environment within which our business has to operate is very, very important from the point of view that we have to successfully run our business organization at any place that we situate it. It does not matter whether we are going to coming up with our organization in our domestic country or outside our country. Understanding the environment within which we are going to start our business becomes very, very important. Might be in terms of economic factors, might be in terms of how the customers of different countries are, might be in terms of different legal uh, environment of different countries in which our organization sets up. Now, all this becomes important for a business organization so that we can understand what opportunities do we have for our organization and what are the threats that we will have to overcome. Okay, and we definitely divide it in terms of 6 different types of environment. Now, taking it in brief, now business environment is definitely is going to have influence on almost every aspects of the business. Can it be the nature of the business, or it can be the location of our business organization, or even the price of the products that we are going to fix. Now, speaking about products, here we are not trying to understand only about the manufacturing industry. We can also have our organization which is a service oriented. So, whenever under our international business environment we mention about products, it simply means it can be a good or it can be a service. Okay, now speaking about the meaning of the business environment, it can be said as what we had studied earlier. It is nothing but a combination of internal and external factors. Okay, okay. Now it is a combination of internal and external factors. Now, internal factors are those things which would be directly influenced only by the business setup. Might be who are there in the committee, what is the nature of your business, what are the rules and regulations that you have taken in your organization. And a business organization would be having full command over all the internal aspects of its organization. Now, speaking about external factors, it is every such aspect outside your business organization or over which a business organization will not be having any kind of control. Only it can be said that we should adjust our organization or the way in which we do business for the external factors. Okay. Now it's a combination of all these factors which influence the company's operating situation. Okay. Now all this business environment is definitely will include your client, suppliers, competition, the improvement over technology, laws and government activities, and market, social, and economic trends. Now, yes. Now let us try to understand one of the success story of one of the company. You might have heard about Starbucks. Some of you might even have visited one of the outlet of Starbucks. Now, Starbucks is a California-based company. Okay, and we are trying to study about this concept, not from how successful it has been over the years, but we are trying to understand how did Starbucks became successful in one of the market situation or one of the market where nobody could ever have thought that it is going to be successful. So, this is the success story of Starbucks in China. Now, China is one such country wherein from thousands of years ago, people are accustomed to drinking tea. Okay, the main beverage they drink is tea. Now, Starbucks started, Starbucks had the idea of starting its store in China. And most of them thought that Starbucks cannot be successful in a country wherein people favor to drink tea rather than coffee. But the thing what we have to see is by 3 to 4 years from the time that they started their organization in China, they were successful in opening more than 570 stores in 48 cities of China. So, what do you think? What might be the reason how Starbucks became successful in such a traditional environment? So, they tell that to be successful, you will have to analyze the business environment very, very carefully and try to understand what are the ways in which we can start our organization in such environment. The first thing they tell is we should start thinking differently. Okay, as I said earlier, China is one such country where people are accustomed to tradition of drinking tea. But what Starbucks did was they did a very careful market study. And in a study, they could understand that there was a middle class group in China, okay, or there existed a Chinese middle class, okay, and they could see opportunity for Starbucks to introduce a Western coffee experience where people could meet their friends and where they could have a cup of coffee over table. Okay, now Starbucks literally created the demand for their company all by themselves. In the beginning, definitely they had days when their profits were very, very less than what expenses they had to experience or what expenses they had to go through. But later on, they became very, very successful. The second one is position smart. Okay, now what they did was they knew that people of China was accustomed to tea. So they thought smartly and they introduced coffee with the local flavor, telling that there is a flavor called as green tea. Okay, now this thinking capacity of Starbucks, where they introduce the taste of local market, it proved to take away all the obstacles that the Starbucks company had for themselves. And the third thing was brand global. Okay, now Starbucks already before entering the market had its name for itself. It was very, very famous in different countries, or in other words, in a global platform, it was very successful. So it was not difficult for them to adjust themselves for the different kind of environment the Chinese country had it for their organization. Okay, and later on, once they started their organization in China and they become successful, they started calling it as East and West blend. The next thing they did was your brand has to be global, but your partners has to be local. Okay, and one more thing the Starbucks company had to go through was the same how our Indian market is, even the Chinese market is not a homogeneous market. For every mile that is there, the market changes. There are different kinds of culture, different kinds of people with different tastes and preference. That is to tell, the culture from northern China is very, very different from that of the east. Okay, and also consumer spending power is not on par with that. Some people who are in villages, their spending is not as much as those who are there in cities. Now, to address this complexity of Chinese market, what Starbucks did was they partnered with three of the regional partners. Now, this was the strategy that they had taken as a part of its expansion plans. Okay, in the northern Starbucks, it entered with a joint venture with something called as Beijing Mida Coffee Company. In the eastern China, the Starbucks partnered with Taiwan-based Uni President. In the south, Starbucks worked with Hong Kong-based Maxim's Caterers. Okay. Now each partners they brought in different strength and local expertise to Starbucks, and that's how Starbucks, you know, understood how complex the environment of Chinese market is, and they set up their organization. And the last thing is commit long term. Okay, As we discussed earlier, China is not a small country. It is a very big country. And also, it is not homogeneous. And it is not that easy to crack the market of China. It requires long-term commitment. Might be you cannot be very, very successful in the first year that you start in China. It has taken many time to understand the environment, to know how people would react, to face all the challenges that it has, to analyze those challenges, and to come up with strategies wherein they overcame all these challenges and became successful. Now, these are the steps what Starbucks has taken. Might be tomorrow when some of you or anyone among you might start one of the organization which might have to enter to different markets. Now, you understanding the environment becomes very, very important so that you have no any problem in doing your business with ease. Now, to tell about that, it is not only the international business. Even if we are trying to set up your business in some other place, might be in our own country, might be in different states, it become important to understand the environment of business wherein you are going to set up your business. Now, we shall move towards the nature of the business environment. Here we are trying to understand about the nature of business. Here we are trying to understand the nature of business environment. Now, once we would understand what are the natures of business environment, might be you would be able to let me know what are the nature of international business environment. Starting with the first one, environment is complex. Okay, now to speak about complex or what is this complexity that we have in the business environment. Okay, now it is complex because of the thing that it has number of factors, events and influences that would be arising from different sources. Okay, now all these factors no way exist in isolation but continuously interact with each other to create entirely new set of influence. Or in other words, to tell that yes, when we speak about business environment, we are going to name it differently. Economic environment might be our legal environment, so different kinds or political environment, we name it differently. But one more thing that we'll have to understand is that when it comes to a practical sense, all these things cannot be separated. They act and interact with one another. Now, one of the factors cannot be kept in isolation to another. Now, when all this combines together, it is definitely going to create a new influence on your business organization. Okay. Now, the second nature of the business environment is dynamic in nature. Now, complexity tells that there are many factors, but the dynamic nature of business tells that the business nature is going to change for every single time that you try to understand it. Or, in other words, because there is complexity in environment, the environment of business in which our organization is set up would be on a continuous change. How the environment would be there today is definitely is not going to be there tomorrow. Not only that, how is it set up in one place is not definitely going to be there in another place. Now, one more thing that we'll have to always remember is that this dynamic nature of business is a external factor, okay, and this factor of business environment is always unpredictable. You can never predict what might happen tomorrow. Now the third one is environment is multifaceted. Now what does this mean? Okay, now this simply means that might be the shape or the characteristic of every business environment depends upon the perception of the observer. Okay, that is to tell, there might be one of the changes that might happen in one of the external factors. Now, it depends upon the each individual or each organization how they would see that change. Would they see that as a threat, or would they see those threats as opportunities? Okay, now that is to tell, we can give a very recent example of Wildcraft company. Okay, now Wildcraft company, as we all know, they are into the production of might be our bags that we use or some other products like the water bottles, etc., etc. Now with corona, what happened was people started people had to stay home. There was no chance for anybody all around to move out. So when they cannot move out, why would we be buying bags? What is the use of us buying bags? Yes, but when the demand for the bags came down, Wildcraft company was very smart in thinking to come up with the one product which was being used by every other individual very much in this time of corona. They came up with the mask. That is how you would perceive your business environment. Whether the changed environment is going to be a threat for you, or is it going to be an opportunity. Had the Wildcraft company sat simply thinking that people are not going out, definitely they might have faced huge losses. But they thought differently and they came up with new product which was very good of them in thinking that way. Yes. Now the fourth one is far reaching impact. Now to explain this point, we are going to tell in terms of might be the growth of the company, success, and profitability of organization. Now, these three factors is definitely going to depend upon the environment in which a business organization exists. Okay, a minor environment change may impact organization in several different ways. Okay, that is to tell, there might be a organization which used to produce plastic bags. Okay, now the main product itself is plastic, but if the government comes up with rules that you are not supposed to produce plastic bags, any any plastic products for that matter. Now, this decision or this external factor that the plastic company has will be having huge impact on how they are going to do business in the coming days. Now, the next characteristic of business is environment is wider. Okay, that is to tell The environment is much more wider in nature as it covers all the factors, might be like customers, competitors, suppliers, government, the social factors, cultural factors, political, technology, and also the legal conditions. Now, the last one among the nature of business environment is that it is always influenced by the people. Okay, now environment differs from place to place, region to region, and country to country. What political condition that we have here in India is definitely not the same what we have in Sri Lanka. And not only that, we need not take a country as such. Might be the region within the country, also the taste and preference changes. And also, it is very, very important to understand the environment of different countries nowadays because than earlier, it is easy to business now. And you do not have customer from one particular region. If you have a product and if people like it, you can have customer from all over world, but even there it depends upon the spending capacity of your customer. So there are many things that you will have to understand regarding this business environment. So I hope whatever we discussed until now was clear to all of you. Okay. Okay, let me. There is one of the, I guess some of you did not understand the first point, wherein we are trying to tell environment is complex. Complex is nothing but anything where there are different many things to which contributes one particular thing to be made. It becomes complex. It is not the same. Each factor that we have is different from one another. Okay, that is to tell. Now, the environment is not only made up of the political conditions or economic conditions. It is made up or it is a globe of many other different things. So, when there are different things, it becomes difficult to understand. That difficulty is being represented by what is being called as complex. I hope we can continue further with the importance of business environment. Now here we are trying to understand why is it important for us to understand business environment. The first and foremost is nothing but we'll have to determine the opportunities and threats. That's when we know for what we have to be prepared and what are the ways in we can grow our business organization. Be preparing ourselves is for the threats, and we have growth for our organization when we successfully utilize the opportunities that we have for our organization. Okay, now this analyzing the business environment, we do not do it on particular date or particular might be like 6 month once or 1 year once, monthly once. No, the business environment has to be analyzed on a continuous basis. Okay, along with whatever we do, we should always keep in mind how the things are changing around our business organization. And the next one is giving direction for growth. Okay, the interaction that we have with our environment would definitely lead to open up new frontiers of growth for our business organization. Now it enables our business organization to identify the areas for growth and also for expansion activities. Now, the third point is continuous learning. As I said, since it is a continuous process of understanding, every day, every minute, you'll understand the environment in which your business organization has set up. The next one is image building. Now, when you understand the environment, it helps the business organization in improving their image, or in other words, what we called as brand name. Okay, whenever our organization shows its a sensitivity to the environment within which they are working, their brand will definitely grow day by day. Okay. Now, the next most important is meeting competition. Definitely, when you try to understand business environment, you'll also know who are your competitors and how can you overcome the competitions, or how can you be in a better position than your competitor. What are the steps that you can take? And not only about something outside, you can also know what are the strength of your organization, which you can develop furthermore and become the market leader. And also you can understand the weakness of your organization and you can overcome. Yes, I guess the time we have reached the limit. So for this session, we would be stopping here, and for we'll have one more session at 2 o'clock. So the further discussion we shall have in our second session. So whatever doubts you had, whatever clarification you have, at any point of time, you can drop a text in the chat box here in the meeting or in your WhatsApp group also. You have any trouble regarding anything, please do let me know regarding that too. Now your classes, your study materials would definitely be posted in your Google Classroom, and your WhatsApp group also. But once after we finish the chapter, those who ever wants to take down notes, do let me know so that I can go slow or discuss things slowly. So thank you class, but wait until I take down your attendance, then you can leave the meeting.
You, ma'am.
Yes, class, you can leave the group and be ready for your next class, which is at 11 o'clock. I guess it is entrepreneurship and small business. So have a
Thank you,
break
ma'am.
and come back to your 11 o'clock class. And be there at
Okay,
2
ma'am.
for the same class.